Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into something that literally has the power to completely transform a room: indoor hanging planters. I mean, just picture it, right? Spider plants cascading from a corner, maybe some trailing pothos right near a bright window. It really softens the sharp edges of a room and brings this vibrant life into empty spaces. It's that magical, layered indoor jungle aesthetic we're all kind of chasing, even if, we sometimes forget to water them. Having a quiet green canopy floating overhead feels way less like basic decoration and more like you're bringing a piece of nature right into your living room. But if we want to keep that canopy floating safely, we really need to talk about the mechanics behind the magic.
Because here's the harsh reality of it all. Gravity wins. We usually get so hyper-focused on the beauty of the plant itself that we completely underestimate the hardware holding the whole thing up. And let me tell you, the stark contrast to that dream of a floating indoor oasis is the sudden, heart-stopping sound of a crashing pot at 2 a.m., just scattering wet dirt all over your living room rug. One wrong screw, maybe a weak anchor, or just a rushed installation, and eventually, gravity is going to take over.
But hey, don't panic. We've got a super clear roadmap to gravity-proof your greenery today. We're going to quickly cover 1. The hidden weight problem, 2. Joists versus drywall, 3. Choosing the right hardware, and 4. Placement and maintenance.
All right, let's jump right into section 1, the hidden weight problem. Because at the end of the day, planters mean weight.
And honestly, this is where most indoor setups go wrong from day one. When you're holding a planter in the store, you might think, oh, this feels pretty light. But you have to add up the elements. First, you've got the weight of the pot itself, especially if you decide to upgrade to a larger ceramic one. Then you've got to add the soil. And finally, the water. When you combine all of these things, a seemingly small planter actually becomes surprisingly heavy. It's really a compounding equation.
Which brings us to understanding what a suspended load actually is. We have to treat hanging plants with a bit of cautious authority here. It's an overhead object exerting a constant downward force. And here is a totally crucial detail that a lot of first-time plant owners discover way too late. Water changes everything. Wet soil weighs more, like significantly more. If your hardware is straining right after a heavy watering cycle, that extra moisture is adding a massive amount of unexpected load. Plus, your plants are living things. As they grow, they're only getting heavier.
So before you even think about picking up a drill, you really have to ask yourself this one massive narrative-shifting question. What exactly are you hanging it from? A lot of people might buy a beautiful planter, grab literally the first hook they find at a junk drawer, screw it into the ceiling, and just hope for the best. But this single question changes your entire approach.
Which leads us perfectly into section 2, joists versus drywall, because your ceiling material absolutely matters. Okay, so understanding your ceiling is literally the foundation of a safe installation. We need to clearly delineate the stark contrast between these two materials. If you're attaching a planter, the absolute safest option by far is a ceiling joist. A joist is the solid structural wooden beam hidden up there above the ceiling. It is quite literally designed by architects to support heavy loads. Drywall, on the other hand, that's just a surface material. It's basically chalk wrapped in thick paper. It's entirely unsupported on its own and is absolutely not designed to hold weight. A hook screwed directly into drywall without proper support is practically guaranteed to rip out over time. It's just a matter of when.
Now, let's look at section 3, choosing the right hardware. It's all about making the correct choice for your space.
So once you know what's going on with your ceiling, you can match up your exact hardware to guarantee success. If you're going directly into a solid wood joist, a standard screw hook rated for the load is totally great for lighter plants. Now, if you've got heavy ceramic pots, you're going to want to upgrade to a heavy-duty ceiling hook, but again, still going right into that joist. But what if you find the absolute perfect aesthetic spot for your plant, but there's no joist up there? That's when you're dealing with bare drywall, and you absolutely must use a toggle bolt or a specialized ceiling anchor to actually distribute the weight behind the drywall. And listen closely to this part. Those tiny little plastic expansion anchors that you'd use to hang a picture frame, those are a recipe for absolute disaster when it comes to heavy hanging planters. Don't do it.
I really want you to remember this golden rule. Indoors, safe beats dramatic every time. Even the strongest drywall anchors have strict limits. You must always match the rating of your hardware to the fully loaded weight of your planter. Remember, that's accounting for the pot, the heavy wet soil, and future plant growth. A really safe mindset is simply assuming the planter will eventually become heavier than it is today. And if you're ever unsure about the weight, just always go lighter with the plant itself or overbuild slightly with the hardware.
Moving on to our final bit, section 4, placement and maintenance, keeping things secure in your room. Because look, the safest hanging planter isn't just secure overhead. It needs to make sense in the context of the actual room. Think really carefully about where the plant actually lives. You've got to consider traffic flow. Are people going to be constantly walking underneath it and bumping their heads? Will swinging doors hit it? If you have trailing vines, are your cats or dogs going to be tempted to jump up and bat at them? And what about dripping water? I mean, a cascading planter directly above your favorite velvet reading chair might look like a beautiful magazine cover right up until watering day when you totally ruin the upholstery. Small, thoughtful placement decisions up front will prevent massive headaches later.
So, let's just walk through a clean, foolproof process here. Step 1, step away from the guesswork and actually find the joist by moving a stud finder slowly across your ceiling. Step 2, mark the spot carefully. Step 3, install your specifically weight-rated hardware. And step 4, and this is absolutely key, before you ever hang the plant, gently apply some downward pressure to the hook just to test it. Observe it. Does the ceiling crack at all? Does the hook shift? An indoor installation should feel completely boring. No creaks, no wobble, no uncertainty. Just quiet confidence.
And that actually brings us to the number 30, as in a super simple 30-second inspection. Yep, even ceiling hooks need checkups. Every few months, especially after heavy watering cycles or big seasonal humidity changes, just take 30 seconds to inspect the hardware. Plants grow slowly, and so do structural problems. Look for any loosening screws, check the ropes or the macrame hangers for wear and tear, and make sure those knots are staying tight. 30 seconds today can easily prevent a broken planter 6 months down the road.
So I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought today. Are you ready to start with what holds the plant rather than the plant itself? Because when you prioritize the hardware first, you guarantee that your floating indoor canopy remains exactly what it should be. A serene, beautiful payoff, rather than a hidden hazard just waiting to fall. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy, safe planting.